VileNed, what happened, VileNed? You're the one who's supposed to keep me out of trouble all the time. What did I schedule this for tomorrow? I meant to do this for tonight, for right now, this very second. 11 o'clock, December 7th, not November 7th. How is it going, VileNed? Great to see you. I don't know. I scheduled it. I thought I scheduled it the right way. It's possible I scheduled it the wrong way. I can't schedule it every possible which way. But I'm Adam Post, your lovely host. How's it going? I came across this cool article. Of course, we got to talk crowdfunding. Of course, we got to talk a little bit of mermaid action. Of course, we got to talk about everything. But apparently the director of Batman, The Dark Knight, Inception, he's a little bit pissed off at Warner Max screwing around with them. Warner Media's HBO Max, Warner Max, whatever you want to call them. It is kind of a big deal because there are people that are pissed throughout Hollywood. But a lot of people, they don't want to say anything because they're a big, big deal, obviously. Warner Media, quite a big deal. So let's get into this article. This is coming from Hollywood Reporter. It just came out tonight. Christopher Nolan rips HBO Max as worst streaming service, denouncing the Warner Brothers plan. So the Warner Brothers plan, as you probably heard by now, we've done this story before, is they're going to take all of their 17 big tentpole movies that they plan on releasing in 2001 and release them on HBO Max, their streaming service, which, as you know, they should rename to HBO Plus. And they're going to release it simultaneously on their streaming service at the same time as they're putting them in theaters. But like we were actually just talking about yesterday, a lot of people were not notified of this. And that's really shocking. It's one thing when Warner Media's DC Comics division doesn't say anything to the DC Comics retailers about changing their distributors. And they're just like, hey, guess what? We're changing our distributors tomorrow. That's not good business. They shouldn't really do that. But at the same point, they're kind of abandoning the industry. They've supported retailers for a really long time. I don't know. If it was me, I would have done it with more communication, because when you don't communicate, everything just costs more. It's a bigger problem. But Warner Media actually did this with all these major movie producers and all this major directing talent. And it's not like they even fund all their own movies. There's a big dispute they have now with Legendary, that film company. And we'll get into that story too, because it's a pretty interesting story. So let's get in there. To many insiders, Warner Media's blindsiding of talent and their reps with the news that it would send its 17 films directly to HBO Max in 2021 felt like an insult. And it really was an insult. Speaking of which, you don't want to insult me. Subscribe to the channel. Click the bell for notifications so I can get you these awesome stories. For many in the movie business, producers, directors, stars, and their representatives, December 3rd, 2020 is a day that will live in infamy. That's not an appropriate thing to say, but let's move on. Some of our industry filmmakers and most important movie stars went to bed the night before thinking they were working for the greatest movie studio and woke up to find out they were working for the worst streaming service. Filmmaker Christopher Nolan, whose relationship with Warner's dates back to Insomnia in 2002, said in a statement to Hollywood Reporter, "That's pretty hardcore. Thinking they were working for the greatest movie studio and waking up to find out they were working for the worst streaming service." And that is kind of a big deal because, you can do direct to video, you can do direct to TV, you can do direct to streaming movies. Some of the direct to streaming movies have been bigger budget movies. They've been real movies, $200 million movies with some stars and things like that, but they're not really established. They're not established in the same way as obviously big budget movies are that are heavily marketed. It's very, very high end, very fancy schmancy to have your films released through movie theaters. That's the way it's always been done. That's the biggest of big platforms. And all of a sudden, all these filmmakers now who've been working with Warner's because of this deal with HBO Max, they're working for HBO Max. They never agreed to that. I would not work for HBO Max unless they at least change their name to HBO Plus. Added Nolan. Warner Brothers had an incredible machine for getting a filmmaker's work out everywhere, both in theaters and in the home, and they are dismantling it as we speak. They don't even understand what they're losing. The decision makes no economic sense, and even the most casual Wall Street investor can see the difference between disruption and dysfunction. Well, I mean, look, he's made a lot of big movies. You can't say that Chris Nolan's not a great director. He obviously understands movie distribution. He understands marketing. But as far as it being a good business decision and knowing what Wall Street wants, there's no chance in the world that Elliott Management, that their finance guys didn't look at this deal and say, yeah, screw the movie industry. Do what you want to do. Take all the credibility of the movie industry and push it into your streaming service. Why? Because the streaming service is what they're trying to do to actually make money now. They kind of need to. They kind of need to do that. Hey, Mighty Joe, good to see you. Shadowhawk, great to see you. Great to see you, Leg Kick. What is shaking, Leg Kick? Who are you kicking now, Leg Kick? All right. On that now infamous morning, Ann Sarnoff, whose ungainly, that's nice vocabulary, ungainly title is chair and CEO of Warner Media Studios and Networks Group, and Warner Brothers Film Studio chairman Toby Emmerich called the heads of the major agencies to drop a bombshell. Warner's was about to smash the theatrical window, sweeping its entire 17-picture 2021 slate onto its faltering HBO Max streaming service, debuting them on the same day they would open in whatever theaters could admit customers. Surprisingly, to some of the industry sources say the idea was the brainchild of Warner Brothers COO Carolyn Blackwood, who, looking at a relatively weak 2021 slate, saw an opportunity to avoid the humiliation of potentially bad grosses while currying favor with the streamer-obsessed higher-ups. So you got to keep in mind, too, like from the perspective of who's writing this article, they're not with the streaming services. These are not technology people. Hollywood Reporter is all about, the existing Hollywood industry, all the non-technology people. My take is it is offensive to the creators of the movies, the producers, the directors, the writers, all the actors, everyone who works so hard to actually make the movies, to go ahead and just say, you know what, we're going to dump this on HBO Max without communicating with them privately. Although if you communicated with them privately, obviously that word would get out. So, but still, there's an obligation to communicate with people. And they could make the argument that, look, we don't have a business. We're trying to build a streaming business, but there's no studio business. We got to do this. I don't know. They didn't communicate. That was Warner Media's biggest problem here. The instant response in Hollywood was outrage and a massive girding for battle. Warner's has made a grave mistake, says one top talent agent. Never have this many people been this upset with one entity. Like others, he had spent much of the day dealing with calls from stunned and angry clients. Guess what? What? You're on HBO Max. No, I'm not. Yes, you are. Those kinds of calls. And that swooshing sound you hear, it's the lawyers stropping their blades as they prepare for battle. That Warner's was self-dealing in shifting these movies to its own streamer, perhaps, or that the company acted in bad faith. Well, no, they didn't. They just should have communicated. Some talent reps say the decision affects not only profit participants, which it does, which is to say, if you put the movie on streaming, that's fine, but we're going to sell less movie tickets, which means there'll be less profit that come from theaters, less revenue from theaters. So that will affect profit sharing. But, I mean, how do you even say that when there's COVID, right? I don't know. Harry Lime says, I like HBO Max. I've had it since day one. It's a great selection of new and old. Well, cool. Very cool. Mighty Joe is saying, isn't Toby Emmerich a small bit actor? No, I think he was a producer. I don't really know his whole background. That's interesting feedback on HBO Max. Yeah, I mean, give it some time with HBO Max. They're going to probably have sign-up deals too, like after January 1st, where they'll give you some free stuff. All right. Some talent reps say the decision affects not only participants, but others who have also worked on films, as the movie rights might affect residual payments. They absolutely will affect residual payments. And that is why you have agents and managers and pay them huge percentages, because this kind of stuff is not supposed to happen. It's not supposed to happen that it's a complete shock to everybody. So that's really the fault of the relationships at the agencies and the managers. And you could probably see a lot of people changing that. Although, who the hell knows? It sounds like Warner Media didn't tell anybody. They expect and hope that the guilds will get involved. So they're talking about Writing Guilds of America and other producing guilds. And these are associations that will help sue as a group. The Warner's move poses big, maybe even existential questions. How do theaters survive this supposedly one-time, excused by the pandemic move? Genies are hard to put back in the bottle. And no one, I've had genies I've tried, I'm still trying to put back in the bottle. I don't recommend taking your genie out of any bottles, guys. Don't do it unless you're ready to have your genie completely forever out of the bottle. And no one believes Warner's intended this to be temporary anyway. Yeah, I don't. What damage will be done to exhibitors by training customers that if they sit on their sofas, the biggest movies will come? And will Warner's face serious backlash from important producers, filmmakers, guilds, and on-screen talent? Warner's was the quintessentially talent-friendly, filmmaker-friendly studio, says one agent. Now Warner's isn't the first place, second place, or third place you'd want to go. Because the thing is, when you have projects and you're looking for like, well, I want the best economic deal, I want the best creative deal where they'll give me control, where I see they're going to have a certain amount of budget, and then you understand that they'll actually spend money to market it. You've even heard that like with comics. You want to go work, if you're doing a creator-owned title and you're going to a publisher, this doesn't exist anymore. But back in the day, people might go to one publisher over another to publish a project because they know that one publisher is going to bother to promote it and it's going to have a chance. But the same thing goes for making these movies. And also with making movies, it could take 10 years to get a movie made. So if it takes 10 years to get a movie made and then at the end, the distribution falls out, it's like, well, nah, we're not really going to distribute it. We're just going to stick it on our streaming service. That's a big deal. That's people's, investing their whole life in it. Many in Hollywood think that Warner Media opted for this drastic move to play to streaming-infatuated Wall Street and redo the botched launch of HBO Max, which has netted a dismal 8.6 million activated subscribers so far. But one prominent agent notes that the top executives at Warner Media and its parent, AT&T CEO, the unfortunately named John Stankey, Warner Media CEO Jason Kilar, and of course Sarnoff don't understand the movie business and they don't understand talent relations. The movie business is a terrible business. I mean, unfortunately, especially now. So they understand that it's terrible, and they understand that streaming is a good business if you can get people to sign up. 8.6 million subscribers is not really good. It's honestly not good. But this could help them get another 10 or 20. Who knows? While Kilar pays what it seems as lip service to movies, that's the CEO of HBO Max. He runs HBO Max. And actually Warner Media. He runs all of Warner Media, Jason Kilar. And he founded Hulu. So they're lucky to have that guy. He's going to make this thing work. That's what I think. They'll kill DC Comics, but they'll make the thing work. So while Kilar plays what's seen as lip service to movies, industry veterans say Warner's is sacrificing the huge profit that comes from selling movies in multiple formats and on multiple platforms around the world. Even before Warner's made its play, there was grumbling amongst agents that Sarnoff, who had been on the job for more than a year, had to get acquainted with key players on the film side or make much of an impression at all. That's why many are focusing their wrath on Emmerich. Toby's passion is only about managing up, says one agent who represents major Warner talent. Managing up. What the hell does that mean? I have no idea. Maybe dealing with his, I don't know what that means. By the weekend, following the announcement, Emmerich was calling important filmmakers with projects set for 2022 to assure them that their movies wouldn't be dropped on the streaming service without warning. We just did it to you now, but don't worry about it. We're not going to do it to you for 2022. Yeah, really? What assurances can you give? As if anyone would believe he had any control over this situation. said one producer with a major Warner property. Toby probably had a really bad weekend. Not that I feel bad for him, says one agent. Yeah, he probably did. According to a source, Emmerich tried to soothe In the Heights director John Chu by pointing out that the movie was still getting a global theatrical release, but because they don't have HBO Max distributed internationally, it's really just the US. But industry insiders say the studio is pretending that pirates won't pounce as soon as these films are streaming on HBO Max, which, as you know, should be renamed HBO Plus. As soon as one does, there's an excellent version of the movie everywhere immediately, says one industry veteran. It is pretty amazing that they do a pretty good job of not having good quality bootlegs of new movies when they come out. Somehow they are kind of blocking them. Harry Lime, you signed up for Netflix because of the Cuties thing. You wanted to see Cuties? A lot of people canceled because of that. I don't know. I guess you could tell us in the chat. Tell us what you think. Shadowhawk mostly watches CG channels. Me too. That, and I, who has time for streaming? It's hard. Much of this outrage will surely be mitigated if Warner Media is prepared to write big checks to all the profit participants in the films that have been moved. Now, there's another article on this about this that actually talks about, like, they actually have written some very substantial checks all over the place. Harry Lime is saying, what's Cuties? All right, let's leave that thing alone. Joe Dubetsky is like, Cooper's going to creep. All right. It's a critical time for them at the highest level to make this thing right with talent, says one rep. But agents say the guidance that's been provided so far suggests that the company isn't planning to offer what's now called Wonder Woman money. In the honor of the rich deal the studio gave profit participants in Wonder Woman 1984 when that film moved to HBO Max. So what they did, she looks great in her gold suit. Good for you, Gal Gadot. It's hard to meet chicks in gold outfits like that, but it's worth it. Put in the effort, guys and girls. Warner Media had to shovel tens of millions at Gal Gadot and other key players because the company wants a third in the series. But that sets the bar high. So what they're talking about is if Wonder Woman 1984 had traditional theatrical distribution, and if there weren't a pandemic, then they assume that it would have made about $1 billion in box office. So if it had made $1 billion in box office, Gal Gadot would have gotten something like a 30, 40, $50 million bonus. I haven't seen the specifics, but very substantial. Because they're going to stick it on HBO Max simultaneously with movie theaters, they basically made a deal with Gal Gadot and some of the other producers or whoever who were big shots and said, okay, we're going to give you just the bonus as if it made $1 billion. And here you go. Just they had to buy their way out of it. But they're not going to do that for everybody, apparently. Sources say even Suicide Squad director James Gunn, who is platform agnostic, was not pleased when the studio followed its shocking announcement by floating a lackluster formula for compensating him and other profit participants in the film. Remember when James Gunn got fired? And then he's like, oh, well, it's okay. I can work for Suicide Squad. Like, well, there you go, buddy. You go work for Suicide Squad. This is what happens. This is why you need to be a billionaire. Make your own comics, make your own movies, do your own thing, and not have to rely on Warner Media. At minimum, Warner Media has opened its door to arduous negotiations with the major agencies over compensation from multiple profit participants in 17 movies. Did the Warner's numbers crunchers in projecting the cost of premiering the entire 2021 slate on HBO Max factor in the cost of widely anticipated legal challenges? I think they did. I think they said, yeah, we're just going to negotiate it out. We'll crunch it out. We'll just cram down some deals. Industry insiders believe Warner Media may have opened itself up to those, especially as it's selling the movies to its own streaming platform when none of the profit participants has a chance to figure out what Apple or Netflix might have paid for the opportunity to stream their projects day and date. Because if they were to stream them day and date on Apple or Netflix or whatever, they may have had a position to negotiate for that. But it's impossible to say that this didn't happen or get accelerated. Like, this is because of the pandemic. Warner Media, at least as far as I know, had nothing to do with the pandemic. Disney, I'm not so sure. Warner Media definitely had nothing to do with it. Because Why do I say that? It's conspiratorial, but Bob Iger did kind of step down like a week or two before the pandemic got very hot. All of a sudden, he wasn't involved anymore. And now he's mentioned he'd be interested in being in a new administration if the presidency changes. That's recent. So, and they had so many dealings with China, Disney. So it's a little hard to trust those guys. Allegations of self-dealing are most sure to follow. Yeah, big deal. Many think Legendary will be the first to file a legal challenge. The company, Legendary, is the movie producer that made Dark Knight Returns and a few cool movies that finances a good portion of the movie. So they spend like 75% of the production budget, and they have a huge profit participation because of that. The company fired off a previous lawyer letter after Netflix offered something north of $225 million for the rights to Godzilla vs. Kong, which has seen its release date move from March 2020 to May 2021. Though Legendary financed 75% of the movie, Warner's had the power to block the sale, and it did. Legendary asked whether the studio would give it a deal to stream the movie on HBO Max and got no clear answer until its executives woke up one December morning to find that the movie was going day and date on the service without the benefit of a negotiation. So apparently Warner didn't agree with Legendary about Godzilla versus Kong, and they didn't even discuss it. And all of a sudden they're like, we're just going to stick it with all the rest of our movies on HBO Max. Good for them. I mean, I don't know. They really have to communicate. I mean, I think Warner Media needed to make this move. It was an absolute necessity, but they should have communicated with people better. Legendary's even more expensive picture, Dune, is getting the same treatment. The other companies that finance Warner movies, Village Roadshow and Braun, are also said to be aggrieved parties that might end up going to court. Whatever, sue them. What are you going to do? And then there's the talent Dune director. Dune director Denis Villeneuve is said to be among those who felt most strongly that a traditional big screen release was essential for his film, Chew, which along with Lin-Manuel Miranda went through an intensive courtship with multiple suitors for In the Heights, and who had turned down a huge Netflix offer for Crazy Rich Asians because he cherishes the communal theatrical experience, told an associate he was shell-shocked after being informed of the Warner's decision. I mean, honestly, there's a lot of problems in the world right now. I do feel bad for these creative people, but it's like, look, they paid all the bills. They paid for all the production. No one has a lot of options with theatrical distribution. We all like the communal experience of going to the movies. It's fun. It's cool. It's interesting. You might meet a nice stranger at one of those movies sometimes. We all like to do that. But let's be realistic. You know, this is a freaking pandemic. People don't want to go to the movies right now. It's not Warner Media's fault. Sources say Warner Media insiders have been hoping that Disney will follow its lead and shift its slate to streaming. But Disney, which has had $7 billion grossing movies last year, isn't about to do that. No. Instead, it's moving some films to streaming, as it did with Hamilton and Artemis Fowl, likely Cruella and more. But an agent notes that the way Disney has handled the shift stands in stark contrast to what Warner's has done. They didn't do a unilateral thing, he said, adding that a studio executive made preemptive calls to talent and their reps that helped smooth the process. Disney, it's funny because Disney has always had a reputation for being like, hey, we don't pay well. Like Disney didn't pay well. They didn't pay the Marvel people well. They didn't pay well for their budgets. They always really super aggressively crunch their numbers. And now these guys are saying, oh, well, Disney was so nice to us. Basically, there are a lot of emotions involved. So you have to communicate. It's also worth noting that Disney Plus, which has dwarfed HBO Max in terms of subscribers, has gotten, boy, they really don't like HBO Max at, over here. They really don't. But Disney Plus had a great launch strategy. They used Verizon, and Verizon helped promote the hell out of them. And then they had one big hit with Mandalorian, and the rest was history. The pandemic helped them. Which has dwarfed HBO Max in terms of subscribers, has got a lot of mileage out of one original hit, The Mandalorian. Hey, I just said that. which is based on an iconic movie property. Really? Which one? Star Wars? I guess. Did you guys know? I didn't know this. Last Jedi came on TV tonight. I started watching it for not even 5 minutes. And I looked at the info on it. I was curious what they rated it. It was rated 4 stars. They rated it 4 stars. Did other places rate The Last Jedi 4 stars? It's strange to me. There's never been a full-fledged franchise blockbuster launched on a streaming service. Well, streaming services are new, observes an executive at Warner's competitor. It starts with theaters and it starts with opening weekend. And so far, those blockbusters have been the ones that generated merchandise sales and theme park attractions. Okay. Warner's doesn't have theme parks, but it reaped big benefits from movies that almost certainly would have dropped onto HBO Max had the option been available at the time. Consider last year's mega hit Joker. Film studio chief Emmerich was not a fan of the project. It was defended worldwide by worldwide marketing president Blair Rich, who was recently pushed out. Well, what are you going to do? Emmerich lowballed on the budget to discourage director Tom Phillips from making it, and when the filmmaker persisted, sold off half the movie. Yeah, half the rights were sold off for Joker, which means half the risk and half the profits. Joker then became a cultural phenomenon that grossed more than $1 billion worldwide and was honored with 11 Academy Award nominations and an Oscar for Joaquin Phoenix. Would any of that have happened had Joker been dropped onto HBO Max? I don't know. Probably not. But they had movie theaters back then. We kind of don't anymore. Despite their assertions to the contrary, many industry insiders believe that neither AT&T chairman Stanky nor Killar has much interest in the legacy movie business. Killar has said this move was made for the fans and told CNBC, if we start our days and end our days focused on the customer, we're going to lead the industry. Yeah, Killar is not a movie guy. Killar is a streaming guy. So everything he thinks about is going to be in terms of streaming and how to get more people to feel like they need to engage with their streaming service. He's interesting, Jason Killar, and he used to work as a vice president under Jeff Bezos and directly with him at Amazon for a few years. And it's interesting to hear. He does a nice presentation, like a 10-minute thing for business school or whatever on YouTube. It's interesting to see people go through like their business strategy, what their focus is. But Killar really is focused on the customer. But the thing of it is that always becomes an excuse, right? Because you want to respect the customer, but you have to respect the creative people that help make the product. And you also have to respect your investors, and you have to respect your employees. So what Killar does is the same thing Amazon does, is they'll say, well, look, we need to always respect the customer. We want to give the customer the most options to enjoy our content as possible. The customer is always number one. So you can't argue with that because the customer is the consumer, the end user. But at the same time, you have to have some respect for the other people in the industry, unless you're just devastating the rest of the industry and you're doing things on your own. COMICSGATE crowdfunding is direct to consumer. So we don't not love retailers. We love comic stores. We love distributors for comics and anyone who wants to promote comic books. However, we're not selling through that channel. We're not selling through comic stores. So we can't make a plan that includes them. For the time being, movies are still in movie theaters, but it looks like from now on, they're going to also be on streaming services. I think Disney's going to follow them, but I guess we'll see what happens. That brings to mind a line in the new Netflix movie Mank. What a terrible name. A warning delivered to the upstart Orson Welles by grizzled veteran Herman Mankiewicz. You, my friend, are an outsider, a self-anointed savior. Hyphenate. They're just waiting to loathe you. All right. It also leaves out a long-standing Hollywood maxim, content is king. Well, content is king, but without distribution, content doesn't exist. It's like cooking a great meal, but not having anyone around to eat it. What good is it? So yeah, there's a balance. And this right now, you don't have public access distribution anymore. So you can have the money, you can have the talent to make a great movie. Can you distribute it anymore? Can we distribute it anymore? Thank God we have a direct to consumer for books like The Mermaids, like College of the Dead, and like Cyberfrog and Chrono Mechanics and so on. Tales from the Stacks, shipping soon from Professor Geek. If you haven't got your copy yet, just got a message about that. But as far as films go, no. For films and TV, there are a lot of places to sell them, but it's not like the same kind of shared open source distribution like it used to be. So I think we're going to see a lot more weird controls on the production of content, just kind of like what they do in China. It also leaves out, that content is king. And content comes from artists who aren't always motivated purely by money. True. Says an agent, they always want to get paid though, says, well, they should. Says an agent who represents extremely important talent with business at Warner's. You had a decades-long legacy as being known as the most talent-friendly studio. Now you've gone from that to a studio that in a starburst colors lit up a sign that says, we don't give an F about talent. Wow, they're using bad words here. They're not saying they don't give a F about talent. They're just saying distribution is changing. And Jason Kilar, they weren't going to listen to him anyway if he tried to explain to them, hey, look, there's fundamental changes in our industry. We can't do what we've been doing. We'd love to, but we're not in a position to do that anymore. They gotta communicate it about it. I gotta say hi to some people I haven't seen. Mighty Joe, I have seen you. Harry Lime, we know he signed up for Netflix. Very important. Good to know that. Eric Huffles. What up, Eric Huffles? You dinosaur person, you. Great to see you, man. Letkick says, I know someone who likes anything that has Marvel or Star Wars on it. Eric Huffles, if he says he likes it, I would avoid it. Yeah, it used to be that you could get anything that said Star Wars or Marvel on it. It would be produced to a certain standard. You knew what it stood for. But they completely changed their brand identity on everything, right? So it's kind of not like that anymore. This is more in-depth. There's more in-depth stories about the business deals. This is kind of a quick, fun one. I saw this one on Cosmic Book News. As you guys know, Matt McLaurin rocks. I love Cosmic Book News. He has some great stories. Wouldn't you just know it that SJW superhero women, given the opportunity to start up a charity, would do something a little bit like they shouldn't be doing and probably won't be held accountable for it. This is coming from Cosmic Book News. Time's Up charity comes up short. Money missing. Something wrong with how they spent the money for that charity. All right. This is, again, Cosmic Book News. If you haven't subscribed, please do subscribe. Click the bell for notifications so I can tell you about all these exciting things. It's very important. What should come as no surprise at all? The Time's Up Me Too charity sounds like a big scam, as it comes up short in terms of helping people. Tax filings reveal the Time's Up charity raised millions of dollars in its first year of operation in 2018, but used barely any of the money to actually help victims. So you would think that a charity called Time's Up to help people that suffered Me Too problems, that you take all that money and like what percentage of it, right? Like 80%, 90%. I mean, this is being organized, it seems like, by rich people. So why not maybe 100%? They could just spend their time on it, fund a few of the legal fees. It's reported that the Time's Up organization raised $3.6 million, but only spent $300,000 on helping people, which comes out to a measly 8.5% of funds. Now, I am no fancy accountant. I know a little bit in this realm of like nonprofits are not supposed to spend, 10% or less of the funds they raise on the function of what the nonprofit is, what the charity is, because you're raising money for charity. You're not raising money for the people who are running the charity to just go around and virtue signal and talk about how wonderful they are. Time's Up did manage to pay out $1.4 million on salaries, which is about 38%, salaries for running the charity. So it must take an awful amount of work to help those victims that only received $300,000. So imagine they spend $1.4 million on salaries alone. direct payments to people working for, quote, Time's Up, end quote, and then to only pay out $300,000. So that's a lot of salaries to pay out $300,000. Why even have the salaries, right? It's further revealed that the charity spent $157,000 on a luxury retreat, because you can't help people unless you're doing it in a luxurious way. So luxury retreat would just be like a fancy schmancy vacation. Almost $1 million spent on legal costs. How do you spend $1 million on legal costs? I don't know. We may have to research that even more. And $288,000 on advertising. So the $1 million in legal costs, I understand. Okay, I do understand the salaries. Those are just overpaid salaries for positions that are ridiculous. And there are specific salaries that they talk about. So that's, I know where it's coming from, and it's not appropriate. I don't think it's appropriate. $157,000 on a luxury retreat, like going on a fun vacation, that's also very inappropriate. $1 million on legal costs, unless they were being sued, I don't know what the purpose is. But you can't raise $3 million and then spend a third of it on legal expenses and almost 40% of it on salary. And the $288,000 on advertising, I assume, is either just to virtue signal or to raise even more funds. Charities that spend money on advertising, they're usually promoting, of course, the charity, which is to raise more funds. The charity also claimed that a separate fund helped 3,000 women at a cost of $1.7 million using money coming from donations. But those donations actually come from grants made to the Women's Law Center, as just $132,000 came from Time's Up. So they're bragging that $1.7 million was spent, but it didn't. That $1.7 million didn't really come from them. Only 10% or less than 10% of it came from the Time's Up Foundation. These people should get in trouble for this. Time's Up was set up to, quote, fight sexual harassment. How are you going to do that? In the work, first of all, you can't do that anymore in the workplace. You can't even look at people the right way or the wrong way or smile at people without getting in trouble. In the wake of the Me Too movement, but it seems to have been set up to become a cash cow for Hollywood's liberal elite. Black Widow, don't let us down. Time's Up pays executives, not victims. Documents reveal nearly 25% of Time's Up funds went to 3 individuals. 3 people got 25% of the money. The Daily Mail points out that Lisa Borders was recruited to head up Time's Up, but only spent 4 months at the organization after her 36-year-old son was accused of sexual misconduct. Well, maybe she wasn't such a good choice. Her salary, $342,000. They paid her $342,000 for 4 months' work? That sounds excessive. Rachel Terrence, the chief marketing officer, netted a salary of $295,000 during the first year. Let me tell you something. DC is hiring for some executive positions right now. We did a story about that yesterday. People don't walk into even like a directorship position and just automatically so quickly get $295,000 in salary. Plus, I assume benefits on top of that, which cost God knows what. I'm not even going to guess. More than 5,000, less than 100. So chief marketing officer, that don't make no sense. $300,000. Well, what did she do? She spent $300,000 on advertising. So between the advertising and the chief marketing officer, they spent almost $600,000 of the money. Treasurer Rebecca Goldman drew a salary of $255,000. Again, you could go work for a very sizable company and you'd be lucky to get that number, not like a little foundation that raised $3.4 million to get $255,000. Total $892,000. You got to be kidding me. But as you can imagine, why have a picture of Captain Marvel? Because Brie Larson, Oprah are both a part of Time's Up. Time's Up was created following a speech by Oprah Winfrey that mentioned time's up in relation to speaking up about the truth against the power of men. Okay. At one time or another, Time's Up included Brie Larson on its board, Reese Witherspoon and Amy Schumer, and Jessica Chastain and Mia Sorvino have also been involved. The wife of J.J. Abrams, who would know a little thing about that, Katie McGrath, is also listed as a co-secretary of Time's Up. Recently saw Brie Larson's fellow Marvel star Scarlett Johansson offer her Black Widow movie as a feminist #MeToo Time's Up movie. We can't wait to see what that's all about. Hopefully they edit that part out. Quote, I think this film in particular is very much reflective of what's going on in regards to the Time's Up movement and the #MeToo movement, Johansson said in Empire magazine. So Johansson doesn't look like she's directly related. She's just sort of talking about the movement. So it's not really fair to relate Scarlett Johansson to this wacky charity. But if somebody's on the board of a charity or of a company, you got to ask them some questions about it if he winds up doing this kind of stuff. I mean, this is not good stuff. Professor Murph, good to see you, my man. Professor Murph says, money laundering. Boy, you're like me, Murph. You're like, let's just accuse them of everything. And murder, why not? I mean, could it be money laundering? I mean, it could be, I guess. Basically, it's not good. Look, you're supposed to be like you're protecting people who've been exploited. Now they're exploiting people for their own protection. That doesn't make sense. It's like backwards. Well, it's good to see you, Professor Murph. Professor Murph's war party is, slush fund for limos and dinner parties. That, I would say, it looks like that's what it is. That's what it is. Age Boomers, good to see you. Leg Kick, still good to see you. Oh, my gosh. How do I pronounce your name? Ikem Amir. Hey, what's up, Lachem? Amir, how you doing, man? And the chief has spoken. Good to see you too. Always Eric Huffles. And there should always be more Eric Huffles. Dragonsmith. Bet you Time's Up also has a casting couch going on. Well, maybe. I don't know. How would we know? Have you guys heard about the aliens? What aliens? I don't know. I kind of do like these crazy stories. Where the hell is this story? That isn't that story. All right. I'm going to give you guys an alien story. But, you know what I'm going to do? I'm going to play the Mermaids trailer while I find the alien story. I don't know if you guys have seen, you know what? You guys might not have seen the College of the Dead trailer. So you're going to get a College of the Dead trailer while I look up our story about aliens, because aliens apparently are real. They are real, and Donald Trump has the proof, and so does Israel. We will talk about that in just a moment. That's the College of the Dead trailer. That was done by Ted Zagaro. You know I love Ted Zagaro. He does all my trailers. This book is actually in print, and it's still in demand. I do have some copies left. That is the second in the College of the Dead series, College of the Dead Graduation Day. The first one, the College of the Dead prequel, is also in print, and it is also available. And thank you guys for sharing the links in the descriptions. I appreciate that. And I love this cover. I actually made a poster out of this image too, which is very cool. But it's not for sale. I just made it for me because I guess I'm greedy. I want it just for myself. So there's a number of different covers. It's very cool. It's college students that are facing a zombie apocalypse, and there's continuity. So you kind of see their challenges as time goes on. And we are working on the new one right now, College Dead Spring Break. I have to do notes on the layouts. We've got a fantastic artist working on it. I'm really excited about it. I will announce that once right after the Mermaids. I just want to make sure the book is ready to go, when we offer it. I'm very big on ready to go. Very important to me. Aliens. Mermaids are actually aliens. So says Violet. It's got to be true. This is not the link I was looking for. This is the link I was looking for. Yeah, I just came across this story. I like this story. I think there's aliens. I believe it. This is coming from MovieWeb, but it's kind of all over the place, as this story is everywhere. Aliens don't want to be revealed because humanity isn't ready, claims former head of Israel's space program. What do you think? Is that possible? If you haven't already, subscribe to the channel, click the bell for notifications. It's a huge help to me, and I can get you the stories. You got to get the stories. President Donald Trump was allegedly going to reveal that aliens really exist, but they requested that he hold off. Those are the people that he will listen to, apparently. If you're an alien, Trump will be like, all right, I'll hear you out. We got the best aliens ever, the best. You're going to love them. Aliens apparently don't want to be revealed because humanity isn't ready, according to the former head of Israel's space program, Professor Chaim Eshed, served from 1981 to 2010, that's a long time. That's not like Fauci long, but that's still pretty long. That's, 30 years? Pretty good. Is it? It'd be embarrassing if it wasn't. 29. Why didn't he go for the 30? As the head of Israel's security space program, and he claims the aliens are real. Of course they're real. If that wasn't enough, Eshed says that there's a real-life galactic federation who believe that Earth can't handle the truth at this point in time. In a recent interview, Professor Chaim Eshed talked about the existence of aliens from his years of experience with the space program. At the age of 87, Eshed holds a bachelor's degree in electronics engineering from the Technion, a master's degree in performance research, and a doctorate in aeronautical engineering. That's pretty damn fancy credentials. He also has extensive experience in IDF military intelligence. That's Israeli Defense Forces. And the Israeli Defense Forces are badass, that I can tell you. You can read what he had to say about the aliens below. All right. Can I do it in a Jewish accent? I am Jewish, but it's not appropriate. The UFOs have asked not to publish that they are here. Humanity is not ready yet. Trump was on the verge of revealing, but the aliens in the Galactic Federation are saying, wait, let people calm down first. Let people calm down first. They don't want to start mass hysteria. They want to make us sane. We want to first make us sane and understanding. Okay, they want to make us sane. I didn't even understand exactly what he said. I don't know how that's going to make me sane. But apparently the aliens want us to chill, relax. Allegedly, President Donald Trump was going to make a big reveal about aliens, but the aliens in question wouldn't let him do it. Things get even more interesting from there. What else could there be? They have been waiting for humanity to evolve and reach a stage where we will generally understand what space and spaceships are, says Professor Chaim Eshed. He goes on to claim that the aliens are working with the United States government. Interesting. There's an agreement between the U.S. government and the aliens. They signed a contract with us to do experiments here. A contract? What's the point of signing a contract with aliens? Who are you going to sue them? Be like, listen, you're not fulfilling your end of the deal. Okay, I'll see you in court. Like, Your Honor, the distinguished defendants over here, Zlad and Flagligeljush, are not fulfilling their obligations under our contract for experiments. What I mean, they may have an agreement, but not a signed contract. It doesn't make any sense. Basically, also, they have superior technology. So what are you going to do about it? It's like signing a contract with a cat. First, by the way, Starlight Cats still in demand. Back Starlight Cats. But you can't sign a contract with aliens. They're going to do whatever they want anyway. All right, back to the article. They too are researching and trying to understand the whole fabric of the universe, and they want us as helpers. There's an underground base in the depths of Mars. Of course, we all saw that movie. What was that movie with Arnold Schwarzenegger? Get your ass to Mars. I don't recall. Where the representatives are, and also our American astronauts. So we have American astronauts in Mars? I didn't know that. We might. All right. If you're asking yourself if Haim Eshed may have lost his mind, he's well aware of his current reputation. If I had come up with what I'm saying today 5 years ago, I would have been hospitalized, he says. Wherever I've gone with this in academia, they've said the man has lost his mind. Today, they're already talking differently. I have nothing to lose. He's 87. I've received my degrees and awards. I'm respected in universities abroad, where the trend is also changing. Eshed is not fearful for revealing these alien secrets, though the aliens might have something to say about it. Uh-oh, don't piss off the aliens, Eshed. If the aliens didn't want President Trump to blow their cover, what makes Haim Eshed more qualified to do so? Good question. I think it's because they know it's a little bit different if the American president, leader of the free world, says, hey, we got aliens, and here's the evidence, versus people who are not really listening to Haim Eshed, even though I find this interesting. So maybe that's the difference. Whatever the case may be, one has to wonder if former Blink-182 guitarist Tom Ligon and his To the Stars Academy have reached out to Eshed yet. Probably. DeLong has been the one revealing UFO secrets over the years, and some people still don't believe him. The Jewish press was one of the first outlets to report on Haim Eshed's alien claims. I don't know what you guys think. I do believe in aliens. I do believe in Haim Eshed. I think he might be saying this for attention. But I think we may as well believe him. I don't see why not. Bronson Gorilla, who made an amazing trailer for College of the Dead. Bronson Gorilla, where have you been? My whole Mermaids campaign. If you have an idea for a trailer, I'd love to hear it. You do amazing work. Hex Allen, saw you pitching your campaign the other day. Looking good, man. Good hustling. Dragonsmith again. Good to see you. CG Oracle. Wow. CG Oracle knows the future. Tell us things, CG Oracle. Fill us in. Tell us things we do not yet know in CG. This just popped on my screen. It's breaking right now. Marvel's Alien comic arrives this March. Here's a first look. I will tell you a secret about aliens. I liked the comic by Mark Nelson, and I think it was Randy Stradley. The art was really, really good. Let's take a look at Marvel's Alien. Speaking of aliens, Marvel's Alien comic that arrives this March. Here is the first look. I hope you guys are ready. I hope that he's being politically correct and he knows all of his pronouns. I do not know what this alien's pronouns are. I hope I'm not offending anyone. I'm going to refer to him as him. We may not be getting a new Alien movie anytime soon, but Marvel Comics is bringing us new stories set within the classic sci-fi horror franchise in just a few months. The publisher has announced a new series from writer Philip Kennedy Johnson that will, oh no, they wrote Captain America. And maybe it's not that one. That will debut in March 2021. The series, simply titled Alien, will be the first in a new line of stories taking place in this universe. The book will feature art by Salvatore Larocca, who did Doctor Doom. The cover art for Alien 1 has been revealed, which features a xenomorph. Xenomorph? Yes, a xenomorph. Looking rather vicious and ready to strike. It appears to be quite faithful to what fans will remember from Ridley Scott's original 1979 classic. Johnson had this to say. And by the way, the license for Aliens from Dark Horse Comics, I think they got it in like 1986. This was like very formative times for independent comics. And for me, because that's when I published my first comic, G.I. Jackrabbits. But the licensed Aliens comic, everyone was really impressed with. It was really well done. And Dark Horse Comics was an independent comics company formed by Mike Richardson, who was also a comics retailer. And they just did a beautiful job on it. It was black and white. And it was kind of exciting for independent comics for him to come out with that. Back to the quote. Just as a reader and fan, I was as excited as anyone when I heard the franchise was coming to Marvel. And when they asked me to write the launch, I was floored. You know, at Marvel, they kind of don't care. So don't be floored. It's nice to be flattered, but they kind of don't care. It would have mattered more like 20 or 30 years ago, particularly 30 years ago. I've been training my whole life for this gig without knowing it. Really? Ever since seeing Ridley Scott's Alien at a way too young age, I've been obsessed with the xenomorph, the single most iconic representation of terror on film. Yeah, Geiger's design is freaking amazing, right? The plot will center on Wayland Yutani's mercenary named Gabriel Cruz, who must battle a deadly new breed of xenomorph with the survival of his child at risk. Marvel says it will be a thrilling addition to the incredible legacy that began with a groundbreaking 1979 film and then continued with Aliens. The publisher also promises that both new and classic characters, from Earth and beyond will be included. Those new characters, will they be diverse? I hope so. I mean, otherwise, throw it out. Oh my God, you have to do that. Yes, they do. This quotas that they have to have now. Quote, drawing this has been, I can't wait to see what that's going to be. Drawing this has been like a dream come true, and I'm so grateful to be part of the series ever since I was young. Alien has been one of my favorite sci-fi horror references, and I've never could have expected to have a chance to draw this. Alien is a creative reference to a whole generation of artists, and I'm so proud to now be illustrating this series. Don't screw it up. I hope readers enjoy it as much as I do drawing it. Philip's story is going to be a delight of this awesome franchise. I've devoured every Alien story I could in medium available and spent a lot of hours in the back of a classroom sketching out ideas for what happened before, after, and in between the chapters we've got to see. Now I have the opportunity to bring my favorite nightmares to life. What a fanboy, huh? All right. So they're excited to work on the project. It is great to find people that are so passionate about working on a project. So, in College of the Dead, the artist really likes drawing zombies. So he's done some amazing zombies. So not to diminish that enthusiasm, I encourage that enthusiasm. That's fantastic. Disney purchased almost all of Fox media assets in a multi-billion-dollar deal that went into effect. Yes, that is true. They spent like $80 billion on it. Disney, this is the thing with money and these big companies. Disney was supposed to spend $60 billion on that deal to buy Fox's entertainment assets, Fox TV, Fox Movies, not the TV network and not the news networks. And they got outbid by Comcast. So they had to add like $20 billion at the end. $80 billion and then an extra 20 at the end. And then all the pandemic, which screwed up all of those movie assets, all the value of the studios. Craziness. The deal went into effect last year and put Disney in control of Alien as well as a multitude of other franchises. Since Disney owns Marvel, they decided to create some synergy with these new books. New Predator comics are also on the way, but no titles or release dates have been set. On the movie side, Ridley Scott is planning another sequel, though the specifics remain mysterious. It will follow 2017's Alien Covenant, which proved to be a divisive commercial disappointment. Yeah, I didn't really like it. I don't know if you guys like Covenant. I really didn't like it. Be sure to check out the newly revealed cover art for yourself. This news comes to us via Marvel. Okay, so let's see what this looks like. Is it good? Yeah, it's solid. This is solid. Is it exceptional? No, it's not exceptional. It's very well done. I would be satisfied with that. But it also tells me that maybe it lacks direction from a competent editor who could communicate look, we want it to be Alien. It's got to be the xenomorph. That's great. But it should be telling the story. And it should be updated at least, if not the design, and you don't have to mess with the design, at least update perspective on it somehow. You have to have it coming at you in a different way. And even the placement of the text looks sloppy, to be honest. But the art is really nice. They're very enthusiastic. Good for them for working on the project. It ain't easy. It ain't easy, but it's necessary. Alien. I wonder what else is going on MovieWeb. Coppola is done with the Godfather franchise, wants to make a movie about the future. He wants to make a sci-fi movie? That sounds ridiculous. Die Hard releases cracks box office. Okay, Die Hard re-release cracks box office. People like real movies from the 90s. I've been watching some movies from the 90s. They're very good. You know, there's like no SJW stuff in any of them. They didn't get to that yet. And like comedies are really funny. They do comedic stuff. It makes sense. What is Jared Leto doing? Morbius is part of an expanding Marvel universe, teases Jared Leto. While discussing Morbius during a new promotional video, Jared Leto teases his role in an expanding universe. They are trying to expand the whole Spider-Man universe, and they have so much to work with. Disney doesn't control it. So what's going to happen? Alongside the release of a new international trailer for Sony's upcoming comic book adaptation, Morbius, lead star Jared Leto has also provided a new promotional video in which he discusses the movie and even hints at Morbius being linked with a certain wisecracking web slinger. Who could that be? Any guesses in the chat? I think it's Spider-Man. Spider-Man. Yes, Die Hard's from the 80s. Thank you, Eric. Eric saves me. I can be wrong. I'm allowed to be wrong sometimes. While there have been clues regarding the movie's link with the MCU Spider-Man, both subtle and not so subtle, this is the first time that Leto himself has addressed the character's role in an expanding universe. But the thing of it is everything's an expanding universe now. I saw A Quiet Place. I liked it. I actually never got around to seeing A Quiet Place 2. Now I hear they're doing sequels and they're making a franchise and a universe out of Quiet Place. A Quiet Place. It could be cool. I mean, it could be good, but like everything that they're doing, they're thinking in terms of franchises and sequels, and they should. Why shouldn't they? You know, if people want it, do it. In the film, I play a new Marvel character that attempts to cure his lifelong blood design with experimental science. In the process, I turn into a living vampire. That happened to me once. I worked my way out of it. That's a little bit about what's going on, and I think it's going to be a fun one, and I can't wait for you guys to see it. It's an exciting role in an expanding universe. Oh, expanding universe. There's a lot for us to look forward to. Wink, wink, nod, nod. While Jared Leto does not name Spider-Man specifically, the initial trailer for Morbius has already spoiled the arrival of Michael Keaton's Spider-Man homecoming villain, Adrian Toomes, a.k.a. the Vulture, which in itself ties the world to that of at least some part of the MCU. Yeah, Morbius is tied to Spider-Man. That's not like a big revelation because, I mean, this has kind of been announced already. If that weren't already enough, there's even a shot of Leto's Michael Morbius walking past a large pile of graffiti depicting Spidey in all his glory. Yeah, Morbius is part. That's where Morbius came from. So did the Sinister Six. So did the Vulture, so did Venom. It all came from the Spider-Man universe. Now, I've liked Spider-Man. I'm not like a passionate Spider-Man, reader or follower. But if you're involved at all with, Marvel Comics, you have some understanding of the Marvel universe. I'm not sure that this author does. But let's continue. To add even more weight to the speculation, Marvel Studios president Kevin Feige, who some people love and a few people are losing their patience with, has previously revealed that the new deal between Disney and Sony Pictures allows Spider-Man to cross cinematic universes, saying Spider-Man is a powerful icon and a hero whose story crosses all ages and audiences around the globe. He also happens to be the only hero with the superpower to cross cinematic universes, which Spider-Man's already done by being the Avengers, right? So as Sony continues to develop their own Spideyverse, you never know what the future surprises, might hold. Well, I mean, we kind of do know that, they're going to move Spider-Man back and forth. Along with the persistent rumors and the supposed recent reveal that Spider-Man 3 will feature various villains and even previous Spider-Man incarnations in the upcoming MCU sequel, do not call me Shirley. It can only be a matter of time before Morbius and Tom Holland's Spider-Man come face-to-face on screen, perhaps with a little of Tom Hardy's Venom thrown in for good measure. Yeah, you want Venom running around. Everybody loves Venom. Okay, add Ali's Blade to the proceedings as well. Wait, Blade is not part of the Spider-Man universe. Okay, and suddenly audiences' pulses will be racing so fast the movie theaters will need to go to paramedics. That's fantastic. Morbius follows. One of Marvel's more compelling and conflicted characters comes to the big screen as Oscar winner Jared Leto transforms into the enigmatic anti-hero Michael Morbius, dangerously ill with a rare blood disorder and determined to save others suffering his same fate. Dr. Morbius attempts a desperate gamble. What at first appears to be a radical success soon reveals itself to be a remedy potentially worse than the disease. We've all been there. Hey, Replicator, especially when we've been turned into vampires and we try to cure it ourselves. Look, if you get some vampire blood, if you accidentally turn into a vampire, and it can happen, don't be embarrassed. See a professional. Don't try to fix it yourself. Directed by Daniel Espinosa, Morbius stars Jared Leto as Michael Morbius alongside Matt Smith, Adria Arjona, Jared Harris, Al Madrigal, Tyrese Gibson, and of course, Tyrese Gibson. Morbius is scheduled to be released March 19th, 2021. So we'll see. Maybe they delay it more. Will Spider-Man be in it, or will just the graffiti for Spider-Man be in it? Hey, Don Chin. Good to see you, man. I don't know. I don't know. I can't really say. Is that much of a tip? It's a little bit of a tip. Yeah, it's kind of interesting. I hope the Marvel movies do well. I hope they take that stuff seriously. While we're on Marvel, let's just do this Marvel story. There are going to be some more Disney and Marvel movie announcements on their investor call. This is coming from The Direct, which is actually a pretty darn good website. I don't see much coming out with these guys on YouTube, but we could, because they really do have some pretty cool articles, and they're pretty well written. Disney will reportedly announce new projects from Marvel and Star Wars later this week. The state of entertainment is largely in flux, with ongoing events forcing major production companies and studios to shift their release strategies for upcoming releases. Warner Brothers, we know already, recently announced their 2021 slate will be on HBO Max. Disney has seen some success with their releases on Disney Plus, most notably The Mandalorian. The series has even had a knock-on effect for other series on the platform, including giving Star Wars: The Clone Wars a spike in viewership. Yeah. I mean, all you need is one hit. If you're in publishing, it's not just for streaming services. It goes for comics as well. If you have one hit, it can make all the difference. But if you do get one hit, focus on that hit. Do more with that hit. Eventually, when you have spare resources, you take on another hit. In my case, College of the Dead has been my hit. We've been working on College of the Dead 3. The Mermaids I had complete. I wanted to offer it. Hopefully, it's just as big a hit or bigger than College of the Dead. We will see. That's up to fans to decide. It's up to customers to decide what's going to be a hit. But once fans have decided that something is a hit, put all your energy into it. Like Replicator Rob, for example, who is focusing on Replicator 3 now and already working on Replicator 4, now on Indiegogo. Okay, so Disney's plans for 2021 will be revealed during their upcoming Investor Day 2020, which should be interesting, because they're going to talk about all their losses and stuff like that, and their future plans. They're also going to be announcing, I've heard, a price increase for Disney Plus. And appears a clearer picture of what will be shown. Okay, has been unveiled. Deadline reported that Disney will unveil a new slate of projects from Marvel Studios and Lucasfilm during their Investor Day on December 10th. According to the outlet, the meeting will announce upcoming television content as well as theatrical projects from the studios. All right, what this means. It's expected that Disney would have some announcements for its Marvel and Star Wars franchises, but this report serves as near confirmation of the fact. It's also notable that these announcements will be new ones, implying that the studios will be revealing projects not yet officially announced. Interesting. Disney Plus seems to be the major focus for the company. Well, it absolutely is. Direct-to-consumer is the focus for all these entertainment companies now. It has to be. Disney Plus, HBO Max. Discovery is doing Discovery Plus. I think it launches January 1st, something like that. They just announced 50 new shows. It's going to be huge. Everything direct to consumer. So it's likely that the upcoming series will be announced for the service, right? Marvel Studios has a few rumored projects in the pipeline that have yet to receive official confirmation. The Disney Plus series centered on Nick Fury was reported on. Marvel will shed some light on what's up with that project. Deadpool 3, which unfortunately received new writers because they wanted to give the opportunity to some female writers, which is fine. But the people who made Deadpool successful was this team of writers, these two guys working with Ryan Reynolds, and it worked. And then they just pulled them off the series just to stick in some other people, which is, you can't do that. You know, whoever, if you're producing content, if you're publishers, you have to respect your creators. You respect your creators may not always respect you, but if you're putting out material, if you're publishing, always respect your creators. And if your creators don't respect you and you can't continue the relationship, don't. But this is really offensive to me that they were. I'm going to do this story instead. So it really makes me mad. Marvel Studios and Ryan Reynolds working together on MCU's Deadpool 3 with new writers. So wrong. The anticipation surrounding Deadpool 3 is high after Disney bought Fox to officially bring the X-Men characters back to Marvel Studios. Well, that's not why they bought Fox. But they did. Given the stacked Phase 4 slate of the MCU, it's currently unknown when Deadpool 3 will arrive, but the film's lead star Ryan Reynolds has been teasing the development of the threequel in recent months. Reynolds has been the champion of the Deadpool franchise ever. Okay, it made money. It's his biggest project, obviously. However, Deadline shared a report that Marvel Studios is tapping Wendy Molyneux and Lizzie Loughlin. Are they sisters? Are they married? What's the story with that? To write Deadpool 3 with Ryan Reynolds set to return as a fan favorite superhero. Reynolds was reportedly involved in the hiring process of the sisters. I guess they're sisters, indicating that he will have a heavy hand in the creative process of the third film. Well, he's also like a producer on it. Deadline also shared that Deadpool 3 will look to find a new director after the schedule of the previous film's director, David Leitch, is filled through 2021. In conjunction with that, the report mentioned that the door is open for Leitch to return to direct the film, but given that he wasn't part of the writer's search, it now seems unlikely for him to come back. If his schedule was really full, the director, and they need to move on production, a lot of that, especially for something that's like a $200 million movie or whatever, you have to make the movie when you have to make the movie. But there's no excuse for pulling the writers off that help make this movie what it is. I mean, they did a lot more than help make it what it is. They're a huge part of why it's successful. In a separate tweet, the official Twitter account of Deadpool posted an image of Bob Belcher from Bob's Burgers along with the weapon of the outspoken hero. The image is a reference to the work of the Molyneux sisters for Bob Burgers, seemingly confirming that the film is in active development under the sister duo. Yeah, it is. Yeah. So Wendy Molyneux shared her reaction to the news by retweeting the latest tweet of the Deadpool Twitter account with the caption, "A dream." This essentially confirms her involvement with the superhero franchise. Yeah, she's getting to do it. But creators shouldn't take work away from each other like that. They really shouldn't. They should really understand, why don't you have these writers on there? Is it going to be more diverse now? I mean, we needed to make it more diverse, so we had to bring these women in. This is why, creators should really work on their own material and their own stories and their own ideas. And it may mean less money, and it might mean more struggling, but eventually, if you don't do that, people take your work away from you. It's great to get paying work, and everybody should get paying work and want paying work, but it's terrible to see the created Deadpool is a very special project. It was not supposed to even do well. People didn't think it was going to do well. And it worked as a superhero comic character, and it worked as a film character. It's not something that should have worked. It's just, it was done well enough that for what it was done correctly. It was aesthetically well done. And it just worked. The pacing was good. It was really enjoyable. It would be interesting to see. Also, they have to navigate, how are you going to integrate Deadpool in the future with the rest of Marvel characters. Maybe you could team up Deadpool with Wolverine and do a whatever. I don't know, a Christmas special. Whatever. You can make something work, but you need the creative insight of people that really deeply understand Deadpool working with people who deeply understand any of the other characters. Not these people that just come from Bob's Burgers and are like, well, yeah, they're funny too. Maybe they're funny too, but like, do they understand deeply what makes Deadpool work? I'm sure Ryan Reynolds has a great understanding of it, but he's not a writer like those writers. They have a certain, like, I have so much respect for writers because, and of course for artists as well, but writers specifically, they have such a deep insight for how a story needs to progress, how to reduce it to the littlest parts of what it needs for it to still be meaningful, how to maintain continuity, how much a character is going to evolve over time, how that character is going to interact with other characters, and how those characters work in like a complementary way. And there's more to it that, I don't even fully understand. I just know I respect it so much. And to have that in place and then have something like Deadpool, which is such a hugely successful movie and so unique, and then to yank those people out and be like, well, we're going to stick these chicks in here instead. It's like taking a chef at like this 5-star restaurant and just sticking it and being like, yeah, well, let's let somebody else give it a shot. Somebody else who might also even be a 5-star restaurant chef, but it's different. Everybody has a different way of doing a job. It's like when most of us are comic fans, you read comics and you have the same creative team working on a comic, like Frank Miller. I remember working on Daredevil. I got in when it first came out around issue maybe 180. Now, yeah, probably just before the death of Elektra. So maybe 178, 179. And, you have the same creative team on it. So that's a whole language in and of itself. You enjoy it. It's cool. It's engaging. But the way it's all packaged, the way it's all laid out, the visual representation of the storytelling is part of the whole language of the property and of the story and the character and the whole experience. And then even if you have somebody great come in and replace that creative team, it's never the same. It can't be the same. So to replace the writers like this, it's terrible. Again, like with a director, it's even worse because the director doesn't have time to do the project apparently, or maybe they're getting rid of him for somebody else who's diverse as well. But at least let's take it on their word that he doesn't have time. Well, then you do not want to replace the writers if the director isn't available. What is Deadpool going to actually be? One thing I'll tell you it's absolutely going to be is 3 will be very different from 2. Will it still be good? Who knows? Who knows? I would wait for the director. I would keep the existing writers. And, as far as greenlighting these movies anyway in 2021, who knows when the hell they're going to be greenlit? You can't wait. You can wait. Ridiculous. Well, check out the Direct. It's thedirect.com. They have cool articles. I think you guys are going to like it. Definitely check it out. It's got some pretty well written and well thought out stuff. I like what they're doing. They do stuff on action figures, I guess. Oh, no, that's not them. Not on action figures. This is them. All right. I've seen a few cool articles. There's a variety of stuff that they have, but it's a little different from some of the other sites. And they seem like they're putting a little bit more into journalism and kind of coming up with some interesting stuff. So I like these guys. I appreciate them. I appreciate you guys the most. I appreciate everybody in the chat. I appreciate you guys listening. Matt Fowler, always good to see you. Dragon Smith, you know how I feel about you. Leg kick. Bronson Gorilla, it is just great to see you again, man. Great to see you. Bronson Gorilla surprised me. Oh, I want to show you this. I hope you guys stick around for this. Bronson Gorilla did this really awesome trailer for College of the Dead. This was such a great surprise to get this from you, Mr. Gorilla. It's so freaking scary. And the first time I saw it, I was freaked out. I know all the art and I know what's going on and stuff, but just the cinematic presentation of it is very, very cool. And I just was really, really impressed with it. Here it is. Oh, damn it. Sorry, what are we not seeing? Well said, the Ryan Cardinal. All right, I screwed this up, guys. Sorry about that. I thought I was sharing it. This is what you have to see. Oh, boy. How embarrassing. I'm not perfect after all. Hey, I acted a little too fast. This is the wrong trailer, okay? So I did it again. Now I'm really going to play it. This is Bronson Gorilla's fan trailer for College of the Dead graduation day. Scared the hell out of me. And I thought it was fantastic. And it is fantastic. Check it out. It's like that movie Grindhouse look. Yeah, the thing that really freaked me out was like somewhere in the middle where the woman's crying. I really wasn't expecting that, and I was like, "Wait a minute, this is actually terrifying. You're scaring the hell out of me." I also want to share with you. So Ted did this trailer as well. Ted Zagaro did this one for me for the Mermaids. Let me play this one for you too. We're playing movies tonight. That's the Mermaids. The Mermaids it's like Game of Thrones with mermaids, of course. The Mermaids is really focused on this one character, Jonna, though. And the Mermaids is really one mermaid's journey from a simple teacher to an unbeatable warrior. Jonna thought she had nothing left to live for until she discovered a new purpose, revenge. She is a plain person. She had a tragedy in life, and she decides to get revenge on the mermaid queen that caused her problem. And that is, it's a cool story. It's 48 pages. It's full color. It will be shipping April 2021. We are funded already. Thank you so much, COMICSGATE, for that. If anybody's interested in backing it, I appreciate it. We also made a 100-page making of mermaids book. I love the making of books because I show the full script and then the layouts from the script. And it's actually really educational to see how the process comes together. For me, I love making the comics. It's the thing I like most about the process. It's great to have them done, but it's very cool making them. We also have more of these mermaid designs. There's a good 20 of them in the book as well, more than 20, that are these full page like art pinup designs by Jerry Gertrudi. He did a fantastic job. And even more character descriptions in there as well. Another 36 character descriptions. We did so much with the development of the world of this. And this is really what got me back into comics. I started on this probably around 2012 and then worked on it for a couple of years until the damn thing was complete. And finally, COMICSGATE lets me publish it now, which I can't appreciate enough. I really appreciate it. And if you guys can't back it, if you share it on social media, by the way, too, that's a huge help. Share it on Twitter, share it on Facebook, whatever else exists. Instagram? I'm not on Instagram, but the cool kids are. But I don't think you can really share stuff on Instagram. But anyway, each of the covers are available. The cover people seem to like best are the Daggers cover. People also really like the side cover. And they like the individual swimming mermaid too. But, you know, the painted ones people seem to like the most. It's very cool. And then there's a collection of all the covers, which I know a couple people in the chat have gotten, which I appreciate that. And you can get all the College of the Dead books as well, and all the College of the Dead mixed up with the mermaids together, and just kind of get everything. But yeah, I'm really excited about publishing this book. I'm excited about COMICSGATE. I'm going to be on, I'm supposed to be on, I think, 6 p.m. my time. Yep, EST. Tomorrow on the Replicators channel with Clayton Barton, How to Draw Comics, talking mermaids and comics. And also I should be on with Billy and Peter Cimetti on the Pop XP channel. We're going to be talking about business stuff with comics. Peter's going to be educating everybody on how he does his website business and email lists and things like that. And mostly I'm going to be there saying, yeah, everybody listen to Peter. Peter knows his stuff. Listen to Peter. He really is great at that stuff. So it's definitely worth listening to both. I love Clayton's channel. I love what Clayton has brought with his How to Draw Comics channel. So definitely, I don't know if any of the mods can share that, but the How to Draw Comics channel particularly, it's very educational. It's a lot of fun. And everybody has been on that channel at this point, I think, in CG. And it's really, really neat. And that's, of course, thanks to Replicator Rob, who helped bring Clayton's How to Draw Comics channel and Clayton into the whole gang of COMICSGATE. Clayton always kind of was COMICSGATE, I guess he said, but he wasn't really closely involved. And he loves it. He loves it. It's just great to have him. And he has a huge channel, so we're getting out to reach out to more people that way. All right, guys. I appreciate you guys so much. You guys are awesome. I'm going to continue to live stream as much as possible. I love it. I really do enjoy doing it. You guys are a lot of fun. I appreciate you guys in the chat, sharing the links and just hanging out and making fun comments. And I will see you guys again soon. You guys have a great night. And if I don't see you, I will miss you. Good night, Matt Fowler.